Everyone dreams of owning a beautiful car, classic car, but unfortunately, sometimes people making horrible mistakes. They buying something rare or rusty. And today let's talking about how to avoid these horrible mistakes when you choose your passion, your classic car, because you don't want to spend a lot of time in a garage to messing with car or browsing your cell phone and finding spare parts. You don't want this Patrick's garage. Grab your snack, welcome back. You want driving around this beautiful car, so let's talking about how to avoid these horrible mistakes. They were built simple, without electronic nightmares, just carburetor and some wires. Cars from 60s, from 70s, they were relatively simple. Just for example, Chevy Nova, Ford Maverick. And you don't want this complex electronic, just simple carburetor, simple ignition system, and they will work perfectly fine. Chevy Nova is the perfect starter class. It's super simple and parts are everywhere, and you can repair it in a garage. Dodge Dart. Best for budget builds. Dodge Dart from 60s and early 70s. Classic Mopar style. 6-cylinder bulletproof. Ford Maverick. Chevrolet Nova. Dodge Dart. Chevy C10 and Ford F100 can be built entirely from mail-order parts. Of course, spare parts access. You don't want to spend a lot of time searching these spare parts, which cars aftermarket support. I know Ford Mustang, of course, Pontiac Grand Prix, and from 60s Ford F100 probably. Great support, aftermarket support. Of course, you don't want to spend a lot of time in searching spare parts. You don't want to scrolling your cell phone. Chevy C10, pickup, Pontiac Grand Prix, all cars from 60s with great aftermarket support, and you don't want to have these problems with rarities. Really hard to find rare spare parts even today. With access to online, you don't want to messing with these spare parts or even restore spare parts, but a lot of shops, they want to help you with restoring these spare parts if you can do this by own hands, but will be better to find original. This car was famous Chevy C10 4100 Pontiac Grand Prix. And of course we go further with Crown Victoria and Chevrolet Capri. You'll find someone who worked on them. Mechanics which were familiar with this car. They know how this car works, and you don't want to have these problems. You go to mechanics, they walking around your car and they don't know what wrong. I remember this was with Volkswagen, and pump leaked, all this coolant leaked away, and they just running around my car. They can't understand from where it can be leaked. Chevrolet Capri, Ford Crown Victoria, Buick LeSabre. Some bodies are cheap to fix, others a nightmare, and not full of curves. Of course, really attractive these shapes of car, but how you going to restore them? Simple, flat design, flat surface, without these fancy curves, like my Volvo's 140 series. And you don't want to mess with this restoration, just simple metal without these fancy curves, really easy to restore, Probably Ford Falcon will be a good option, Chevy El Camino, Of course, these cars from 70s, this easy to restore, and this car easy to welding. It's really fascinating to restore a car with welding machine, but where you can bend these shapes, these fancy shapes. Yes, it's beautiful, but easier to restore Volvo 240 series, 140 series. There is no reason to find these fancy cars, especially can be broken after accidents. Chevrolet El Camino, Ford Falcon, Plymouth Valiant. And now we approach to the next our point, what we should pay attention for. Rust destroys budget projects. Always inspect frame. Rust, of course, it's really difficult to restore a rusty car. This is will be money pit. You don't want to buy a car which really suffer from rust, and you don't want to spend a lot of money to restoration because it's really expensive. Will be better to buy a car if you want cheapest options. Will be better to buy a car with broken something inside rather than absolutely rusty buckets. Surface rust on the surface, probably nothing wrong. If it's not crunchy, nothing wrong. You can just clean it and coat with primer. But if it's really rusty, there is no reason even consider just run away from these offers. AMC Rambler, Chevrolet Monte Carlo, Ford Torino. You should love the car. That's what keeps you going when things break. Probably it should be number first, but let's say this should be your passion, what you really love. Car, you should admire this design, but yes, you don't want to buy a really rusty bucket. This should be what you really want. Pay attention to condition of car and why you should be really admire this design and you really like this car just because more easier to continue your repair, your restoration. When can be any difficulties and you really lazy to continue, but you know that you love this car and this really it pushes you to continue this way of restoration car and you want really love what you do and this should be personal interest for this model. Want fewer headaches, pick a car with a loyal online community. Really big deal community support. Ford Ltd wasn't just a luxury car, it was a symbol of reliability and pride, blending comfort, power, and presence on every street in olden days. Ford Ltd. You can find a lot of information about this car and Facebook groups. I prefer Facebook groups and there's a lot of online groups, even videos you can find how to repair cars. So before you thinking about to choose a really a rarity car, your passion car, you can call it whatever you want. Maybe this is car for weekend. This is relatively not so old car, but you want to find support, information support. We can say this point as information support, probably books. You want to find in your local library this information about this car which you planning to buy. It's really important information. Chevy C10, Ford Ltd, Dutch D series. So, moral is a conclusion. Which conclusion? You don't want to buy problems for your money. It should be pleasure. You want to restore car for your own pleasure, and you don't want to pay money for nothing. If you have no mechanics able to restore your car, you don't want to spend money for these clowns which not able to repair your car. I'll catch you in the next one on Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Thanks for your support. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Click the subscribe button and notifications bell, so that way you can be notified as soon as I upload new videos.